back to another Insider. This week we wrap up this month of August, where we spoke about my trip to Portugal and what I found in Portugal in regards to the language, what I saw, what I didn't like. And today we do a little wrap up of the positive and the negative aspects. I must admit that there won't be a lot of positives, unfortunately, but come with me, let's talk about it. Let's talk about how did Portugal changed since my last visit. So, let's talk about the good and the bad about Portugal. Obviously, and I said that in my first video, in the first, it has been about 12 years since my last visit to Portugal. And of course, it was expected that there was a lot of change. I must say, I'm afraid I'm a bit disappointed with especially the big cities that look chaotic, unclean, and in aesthetic terms, it was a disappointment, especially Lisbon, which was the city that I was born and lived for 30 years. I thought it was run down and it was very sad. But this channel, it's not about aesthetic aspects of a country or of a city. We here talk about languages, translation, and everything in between. And this is what I've been talking this month, is what I found linguistically speaking. So, obviously, when you see an increase in tourism, there's always gonna be a few changes in the dynamics of the language, and that's expected. I live in a country where tourism is booming. You know, Australia, it's another touristic country. A lot of people dream about coming to Australia for holidays. A lot of them do. And of course, that influences. We have people coming from all over the world. We have people coming from China. We have people coming from other countries in Asia, like Indonesia, India. We have Europeans coming from France, Germany, Portugal. We have people from the United States, from Brazil, from Colombia. We have people from everywhere that may choose to come to Australia either to live or to have a holiday. And of course, that influences everything. The same is happening with Portugal. And tourism has had a massive increase since I last visited. There's a lot of tourists around, especially in main cities. Of course, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. And again, this is not for this channel. But of course, they bring differences to the language. One of the things that obviously always happened in Portugal, I always had that perception, and I've seen also in other videos, in other YouTubers, saying that generally speaking, the Portuguese have a very good level of English. I still confirm that. However, as a Portuguese national, I find a little sad, for example, that I went to a restaurant that served Portuguese food. I was talking to the waiter in Portuguese, obviously I was there, and the person asked me to speak English. Well, one thing is that you speak another language to cater for the people that are coming to your country. Yes, I think that's very welcoming, and I think that that is a very positive thing. Another thing is when you start using a different language and you exclude the people from the country. And even more so when you actually are serving food from that country. So people go there because of the food. The food was fantastic, I must say, was truly authentic, which when that person came to me and asked me to speak English, I was no longer sure that I was going to have an authentic meal, and I did. So that wasn't the problem. The problem is that now you have this issue, is that because of the tourism, people tend now to prefer a foreign language to the language of the country. That is wrong, in my opinion. It is wrong, and it should be changed. And then it's the question of that orthographic agreement that, in my view, is damaging the language, is damaging the culture. And if you ask me, after being there and seeing firsthand what is happening, it looks like they are trying to basically erase Portugal out of the equation. So it's physically there, but it's no longer there because the language is not there. And quite frankly, the culture will be diluted because of the influence of a variant over the language. Again, I stress, with no real guilt from the variant or the people from that variant, which obviously you know I'm talking about Brazil. Yes, there's a huge community, a huge Brazilian community in Portugal. Yes, there is a huge influence from the Brazilian culture in Portugal through the soap operas, etc. But then again, when I was living there and I was growing up, that was already the case. We already had a huge influence from the soap operas. I remember that I used to joke and speak with the Brazilian accent in Brazilian Portuguese when I was living there. And there was someone that I knew, and her late father fortunately passed away. He had one of those little taverns in Lisbon, and when I used to get in, they used to live at the top, and I used to get in just to wait for my friend to go to school, and I used to speak in Brazilian, just try to pretend I was one of the characters of one of the soapies that was on at that time, and one of the clients actually thought I was Brazilian. So that influence, that cultural link, always happened, and I believe it will always be there, because obviously there's a very strong connection between the two countries, and now we have lots of Brazilian people that are there. But having said that, I also find, even on YouTube, a lot of Brazilian YouTubers that actually make the effort to, since they are in Portugal, to try to talk with the Portuguese accent. So you can't blame it on the Brazilians or on Brazil, because I don't think that is the case. The case is that we have a gutless government that have been imposing this on the Portuguese people. And what I've seen, it's like, and I've said it in my last video, it's a subtle indoctrination of the people. So in schools, they eradicated the books written in correct Portuguese, so you can no longer find it. I looked for books that were written in correct Portuguese. They are nowhere to be seen. As I said in my previous video, I will still teach my daughter how to speak Portuguese correctly. She will write and speak the language correctly. She won't follow this dictatorship. She won't. However, it is very sad that all those books, what happened to all those books? And this is information that needs to be passed on, and people need to know about this. They basically erased everything. So now everything that exists is in this mess that they have created. And what they're doing, it's pretending that, well, it is done. Now people talk like this. This is the way they speak these days. So there's nothing you can do about it. No, yes, we can do about it. And starting with the fact that it is something that is illegal. And it's not me, a translator, saying it. It's people that know. People that actually are in the legal field, and they do interpret and understand the Portuguese constitution. Well, every citizen has the right of knowing their country's constitution, and we all know that in Portugal you cannot, nothing is set in stone if it's not made by law, if it's not a law. And this was not a law. This was something that was signed by the Portuguese Parliament, but it was not made into a law, into a decree law. That's what they call it in Portuguese, which would automatically erase or would cease effect of the previous one for the orthographic agreement of 1945. So, legally speaking, that is the one that is still valid, because that stupidity that was created was never made into a law. So this is the predicament that Portugal is in at the moment. If you want to read a little bit about it, the countries and the Portuguese-speaking countries, they haven't signed it. Brazil ended up signing it, but in reality, nothing really changed for them. And the Portuguese government did this on their own. So we cannot blame Brazil. We cannot put the blame on others. I cannot understand that someone that is voted by the people to represent them, and I'm talking about the Portuguese president, have the gut to receive a letter from the citizens, for the very citizens that he represents, and he doesn't even care to reply to them, at least acknowledging their issues, acknowledging what they are talking about, because we are not just complaining. We are defending the language and we are defending the country. The Portuguese language was born in Portugal. There is no other way about it. Just like the English language came from England, came from the UK. There's no other way about it. So why are we going through this and the numbers and coming with the nonsense, quite frankly, of saying that because there's more Brazilians than Portuguese, that's not an argument. That's absolutely not an argument. Look at the population of the United States, look at the population of the UK. Does King Charles speak American English? Obviously not. Does King Charles, or do the Americans, or do anyone else in the English-speaking world care about that? No. Everyone respects their own variant of the language. The main language is there in the UK, safe and sound. Nobody touches it unless, obviously, they themselves change it. And we all have our variants. The United States have their own. We have our own here in Australia. South Africa has their own. Nobody interferes with anyone. Nobody tries to unify the English language, because everyone understands that these countries are very different. Very different. We are linked by one language, but we are very different. Very different cultures, very different, even in terms of geography. We are in very, very different places of the planet, and that also influences the way that we speak, of course. Australia has a very strong influence from the Pacific, etc. The United States, it's right there up the north, such as Canada. We have South Africa in Africa, so we different locations. Everyone respects everyone. Everyone respects everyone's culture. So why would we have the need to unify the Portuguese language? It does not even make sense. As I said in a previous video, and I repeat here, I was talking to an American citizen the other day, a friend of mine, and I was actually bringing this issue to him, explaining what is happening at the moment with the Portuguese, and telling him what would he think if out of a sudden his variant of the English language was brought up and forced upon the British people. And he said that would be insane. And he's an American citizen. So just so you can understand the absurdity that has been created here. This has nothing to do with evolution. In fact, it has created so many issues after this. As I said, not even the Diary of the Republic is written correctly these days. They cannot apply the absurdity that they have created because it's not natural. The issue here, it's not natural. If this reflected the evolution of the language, people would use it happily and everything would flow and would make sense. It doesn't, because it's not natural. This is not what the Portuguese do. This is not how the Portuguese write. And this is not how the Portuguese speak. So how can you force an entire population of a country to do something that is not theirs, that is not natural to them, and think that is okay without consultation, without legality because it's not legal? And then when you are called upon what you did, you just ignore it. That's what cowards do. Quite frankly, this is what cowards do. They impose something, but then when they are made accountable for what the mess they have created, they hide under the carpet like a coward and they ignore it. Well, we're not going to let it go. We'll keep on going. We'll keep on going. Because at the end of the day, it's our children. It's the children of Portugal that are being highly jeopardized in their education because of this. They are not learning Portuguese. They are not. They're learning something else. Something else entirely, that not even the Brazilian people agree with it. Because it's absurd, as I said. It's absurd and nobody understands it. So this is what I found. I also came in to know this week that the author of the blog O Lugar da Língua Portuguesa, the place of the Portuguese language, which is a place where you can read everything about our fight against this absurdity, why we are fighting for it, all the legal aspects of this, why this absurdity is not even legal and it's not valid because it was not made into a law. I stress, it's not valid. And people want her to make small posts because maybe she would attract more people. Well, let me tell you, that's the ignorant approach to things. I apologize for my strong language, but I do have to say this. When you don't want to say a lot, where you want to just to create some stir, to create some likes, you just put a little photo and you put some headline on and that's it. No, that's not how you fight for this. You don't fight ignorance with ignorance. You fight ignorance with facts. And that's what we need to do. And that's what we need to do. We need to spread the word. We need to inform everyone. We need to let everyone know, including the European Parliament. Because at the moment, the European Parliament is using a language that does not belong to any of the European Union members, because that language does not belong to Portugal. So everyone needs to be informed. Everyone needs to get this information. And everyone has the right of that information. And that's why we are here. And we are not going to shut up. We are not going to stop. I definitely won't stop. I'll be talking about this as much as I can. And I will be helping Isabel on this fight. Because I think it's our duty as citizens. It's our duty as linguists to let the word out and tell the people what is happening, because everyone talks about the usual dictatorships that unfortunately exist in the world and how those people suffer under those dictatorships. Well, we have a different type of dictatorship in Portugal. At the moment, the Portuguese citizens have absolutely no voice, because every time they try to vocalize what they think, they are squashed, they are ignored, they are put under the carpet by a president that has absolutely no charisma, no nothing. He was voted for what? He's representing a country, and he lets something like this to be done to that very country. I'm sorry, that's a very, very, very big conflict of interest. He is going against what he was voted for. And then we have these successive governments. Quite frankly, I don't even know what to say about them, apart from a huge bunch of corrupt politicians that have absolutely no idea how to deal with languages and how languages work, and they just threw something as idiotic as this, and they think they got away with it. Well, not while we are here. And we will be fighting for this, and we will be fighting this with information, fighting this with facts, telling the people why. We're not just here saying, I'm against something, because that's the usual case. We live in the cancel culture, the woke culture, that if you don't like something, you say you don't like, you are offended by it, and that's it. Everyone else has to stop. No, that's not my deal. I don't go for that sort of ideas. I am a strong advocate of freedom of speech. But I believe that freedom of speech is achieved with knowledge, not with headlines, not with photos, not with very, very good, nice designs to catch attention and attract likes or anything like that. That's not how you create freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is when you provide people with information and let them make their own choice, and let them make their own informed choice. Because that's what freedom of speech is. And that's why we are here to provide all the information you need to know why, the reason why we are against this. I'm not saying that I'm against this or for that, or just saying I'm against it. I'm explaining why I'm against this, because it's killing the Portuguese culture, because it's wrong, because the language is not written like that, the language is not spoken like that, not in Portugal, and because Portugal is still the creator of the Portuguese language. That's why it's called Portuguese. It's not called something else. Makes sense, I would say. So, I think this is what I wanted to say today to wrap up this month about the whole thing that I have seen in 4 weeks that I was in Portugal. Again, another shout out for those signs on the road. I still stress it was up the north, where inspection centers were still written inspections, was not inspeções. Well done. Don't change your signs. I think it was a good thing. I still continue to ask you all if you have any company, any traffic sign, anything that it's written in correct Portuguese that you say this one is correct, take a picture and put it on the comments of this or any of the previous videos so we can show these people that, yeah, we still speak Portuguese, we are still Portuguese citizens, and we won't give in to any dictator or dictatorship. So this was my last video about my trip to Portugal and everything that I saw there in regards to this issue with the language. I'm quite appalled, especially with RTP, the Portuguese national TV channel that should provide a public service, and quite frankly, it's far from that. They have this nonsense in the morning telling people how to speak Portuguese correctly. They go in the streets and ask people, how do you say it? Do you say this or do you say that? Just to try to, do their beautiful job of teaching people how to speak Portuguese when they themselves are not speaking Portuguese at all. So, very bad job. I think I have very, very, very little positive thing to say about the journalism profession at the moment. They don't do a good job at all, but that's unfortunately worldwide. In regards to this issue, the same has to be said. Most of them just quickly jumped on the ignorance bandwagon, and they didn't even have what I believe is a fundamental skill for a journalist to have, which is critical thinking and objectivity. They don't use it anymore. So if the dictators say do it like that, they just follow, and that's what is happening in Portugal at the moment. The poor children, for me, are the ones who are losing the most, because my generation is not really losing. We know how to write. We keep fighting for this. The older generation, it's not losing at all, because they also know how to write. They also know how to read. They know this is wrong. It's the little ones. It's my daughter's generation. It's the little ones that are being indoctrinated, that have been taught at school something that is wrong, and they are jeopardizing their education over something that I haven't found out yet what was the interest behind all this. Because having just one language in the UN, that doesn't really, nobody bites that one, nobody believes it. It's as pathetic as you can imagine, because the same, there is several variants of English, one is used and everyone else understands it, that there's no problem with that. So really try to find another reason, because that one doesn't stick in. And in my view, the real damage is being done, or is being imposed on the children that are now in school, and they don't know how to write. Very sad that they don't know how to write. They are confused, because whatever they see at school and how they speak and what they write, it's not the same as what they listen when people speak Portuguese. So it's wrong. It's just wrong. So it's a very, very sad situation. But here we are to keep on fighting it, and to keep on informing people, because I think that's the main thing here, is that we keep the information out, we keep the facts going, so the stupidity cannot win. There is no arguments when you have facts. When you come with reality, when you come with actual facts, with the truth, there's nothing they can do about it. This is here. This is a fact. And one of the facts is that that thing, it's not even valid because it was not even made into a law. So for today, I hope you liked. I apologize if I was on a more somber mood and I was a bit more not the usual smiley person I am on these videos. But as I have mentioned before, this is something that I feel very strongly about. And as I also said, after being in Portugal and seeing what is happening there, as I explained, it's different when you see things from a distance. I do apologize, but I've got a bit of allergy. It's a little different when you see things from a distance, as I said, and in my case, from very, very big distance, from when you are immersed in the culture, when you are there and you are witnessing the everyday life of the country and the people and see what is happening. And I cannot help by feeling extremely hungry, extremely revolted about what I witnessed in those 4 weeks that I was in Portugal, because it's unacceptable. As I said, I am an advocate of free speech. I'm an advocate of democracy and living in a democratic country. I do live in a democratic country. As I mentioned before, if I want to talk to my local member, he's over there, right there. I can go there and I can talk to him. In fact, I find him on the street plenty times and I just cross paths and I say hello to him. He's not hidden away under an office or under some sort of guards or anything like that. He's there, available. Even if I want to send a letter to Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, I am allowed to. He also has an office. In fact, I know where his office is in Sydney, in Merrickville, because he's the member for Grania, and I know where his office is. So, it's accessible. The politicians are here. And if you want to tell them something that you're not happy with, you can. You can send them a letter and they reply to you. In fact, they send you their own newsletters. They ask you questions. This is a democracy working. I do not live in a dictatorship in Australia. I found that the Portuguese are tied up. And the problem with this is that they don't want to release any information. They want to depict the people from information. They want to cut all of that because they know knowledge is power. So if the people don't have the power of knowledge, don't have the power of that information, it is easy to control it. It is easy to control the people. And that's what they're doing. That's why they try to indoctrinate them with all these pathetic TV shows, with these pathetic channels. They try to indoctrinate people, use this abhorrent language that they have created, because that way they think they slowly and very subtle, they will keep on introducing that. They don't provide information, they just keep on doing, and people will eventually go, like a herd of sheep. That's what I saw happening in Portugal. The Portuguese don't have a voice. They can go in as many rallies as they want. They don't have a voice. They don't. And one of the things that I think is most important for the Portuguese to understand, it's the power of voting. I do think that that is the answer for their problems, not just for the language, but all other problems that the country is facing at the moment, is voting. Vote. The vote is their voice. Equip yourself with information. Equip yourself with information about every single political party you have in the country. Not just one, not just two or three, all of them. And then make your own informed decision for which one you want to support. But support one. Make that change. Make that change. Make your voice heard. I think that is how you eradicate this dictatorship. This is how you eradicate this corruption, these corrupt politicians who have the guarantee that they will not be sacked from their cushy jobs because they have the people in their hands. They keep on having them coming because there's no information, there's nothing, and then they have the media smearing all the scare campaigns about this, they're gonna do this, they're gonna do that, and people are scared. And that's how they control it. And that's how I've seen the Portuguese people being controlled. It has to stop. They managed to finish off one dictatorship in 1974. Come on, Portuguese. You can do it again. You can do it again. You certainly can do it again. Just don't be complacent and make your voice heard. Vote. Vote. Make the change. It doesn't matter. I'm not telling you to vote for this or for that. That's not my call. I'm not defending any political party or denomination. I do not live there, and I don't believe I have any knowledge to do so. What I do strongly recommend to every single Portuguese citizen is that you equip yourself with information. Take a bit of time. Instead of watching silly videos on Facebook, just go and read the programs of the political parties. Yes, you may say, oh, but that's boring. Well, think about it. It's much better to read 5 minutes of boring and know what's going on, what each one of them think, than not reading that boring piece, keep on with the silly videos, and either not voting, not having a voice, or voting for the wrong party that is gonna put you under another 5 years of the same S. So you choose. So I think it's time for people to understand that we do have a voice. It's not just because we are citizens. It's not just because we are the people, we are the poor, that you don't have a voice. Yeah, you do. Vote. That's your voice. And that works for everything. That works for the economy, that works for the language, that works for the education, for the health, for everything. If you want changes in your country, the only way you're going to have it is by voting and by telling the politicians, hey, you did this. I'm not happy. You out. That's what happens in Australia. Actually, this is what happens in Australia. When a certain politician does something and people are not happy with them, they don't care. That politician is out. Because that's how it works. That's how a democracy works. If you're not happy, you make changes. You do something about it. You tell it. So you say, I'm not happy. I want change. So this was my last video about Portugal. As you can see, I feel rather aggravated about this. I do, and I'm totally unapologetic about it. I was born there, and what I see or what I saw last month was rather sad. So I really had to make these videos, and I really had to talk about this and letting you know what's going on. Please, if you see any sign, any business, anything, any billboard that is written in correct Portuguese, take a picture, put it on the comments below. Let's show these politicians that a lot of people do not agree with them and do not follow their dictatorship. And let's bring more information, more, if you know more. If you are in the legal field and you have something to add about the inconstitutionality of this orthographic agreement, please head to the comments, join us, let's get all the information together, let's get more and more and more. Again, I recommend you, if you are a Portuguese citizen and if you read Portuguese, O Lugar da Língua Portuguesa, it's a beautiful, absolutely amazing blog that was prepared by Dr. Isabel, and she's been doing a great job, and she compiled all the information about this. You have it there, everything, the facts. It's not nonsense. It's not blah 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 blah. It's facts. It's the reason why there is so many people against this. They're there. So if you speak Portuguese, please visit the blog, because it is very, very good and is worth visiting. And of course, put a like on the video and subscribe the channel with a little click on the bell so you get a notification of a new insider every week. Before I go, I would like to thank you all for watching. Once again, I apologize for this more somber mood of these videos in August, but this was a rather serious topic for me. Next month we will continue with our regular videos about language issues in general, and of course every single time I find there is something new to add to this, I will come back because I think this is very important. So if you are a Portuguese national, join me and say no to the orthographic agreement. Have a good week. Thank you for watching.